We've got Jimmy and Durham, but I'm sure they'll introduce themselves on the first question. You set the first question, I'm sure you know by now, 24 hours in advance. And so the question I set was, I'm going to find it. The various members of the exec can be characterised by animal personalities. For example, I think of Andy Hudson as a pit bull, territorial and loyal to the end, but with a heart of gold. What animal would you characterise yourself as, and how do you think those characteristics would benefit you as services manager with specific examples?
Hi guys, I'm Durham Patel. Thank you all for coming today. To the answer to your question, I feel like I am a brown bear. I am soft and cuddly and approachable. I am ferocious when I need to be. Bears are known for their hygiene. Well, they like to play in water quite a bit. And if you ask my housemates, I do love my showers. So, with that said, I would love to have the washing machines working at all times and the housekeeping to make sure that they have an efficient way of cleaning rooms. For the winter hibernation, I would like to make sure that the vending machines and the toasty bars stocked fully so that my cubs are not starving. I am loyal to my cubs, making sure that I protect them from all predators and fight for their rights to any amenities they may need or want. And at the end, obviously, if you guys can't tell, I am brown.
Hi guys, James. Well, I didn't go brown bear. I looked for quite a flair animal and then thought, I'm not a killer whale, I'm not a polar bear, so going with a pretty standard one. I went with a guide dog, which is quite a boring answer, I know, but probably the most appropriate I can go with. Just to pre-warn you, there are going to be some very tenuous links between a guide dog, me, and services manager. I put the most important feature down. Guide dog, pretty reliable. He's got a pretty strong work ethic. Does the hard work. And I think that's the most important part of services. I think I am someone who's determined, dedicated, and I think the role requires you to just get the simple stuff done. I put it in the manifesto, just efficient, effective maintenance. I think that's just getting the basics right, whether that's the toasty bar or the vending machines. It's just that stuff should be the core of the role. You shouldn't go in with big, grand plans. I think you've just got to be like a guide dog, just plod on, get on with the work, do what you can. Guide dog again, like a brown bear, pretty approachable. I think I am someone who's approachable. That should be the vital part of services, I feel, so that people can come to you with any issue whatsoever, whether they want something changed through food committee, whether they think the vending machine needs sorting out, or the back room needs something doing to it. The service manager should be the first port of call in that respect. Guide dog, pretty good at understanding what people want. It is a dog that understands what a blind person wants, so in that respect, that's what service manager should be. You should know what people want. If they want the pom bears not to be 3 different prices, that's what they should sort out first. I'll keep it brief. Guide dog, big fluorescent jacket, it's pretty clear what it does. I think services this year possibly needs to make it clear what it does. Like, no one seems to know food committee exists, like it's been 20 fresher. So in that respect, make it clear that things can be changed and things can be fixed through the services. Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Okay, what we'll do now is we'll take questions from the floor. If people want to put their hands up, and I'll just pick people at random. Yeah, Ben?
Do any of you have any plans for formals? Specifically, there's usually people who get turned away and busy at formals like on Thursday. Do you have any idea about how to combat that? Jimmy goes first.
Something I know, well, it's a huge issue with people being turned away from the door at full. I heard 20 people had to eat their food in the undie the other day. I mean, that's an absolute joke. There's clearly something fundamentally wrong with the system. At the moment, there's just no accountability for the people who take a space on formal exchange. There's nothing in terms of guest spaces. No one really has any idea what's going on in that respect. I think it's something we need to combine with security in that respect. So we need, if it's just a case of setting up a services manager Hotmail account, and whenever someone swaps a place, send an email saying James Carr for Durham Patel. So I know it's annoying to send an email, but it's not as annoying as ever being turned away from a formal. And then 6:30 before each formal, print out a list of names. You've got the names who've been...
Just point it towards you.
Cheers. Yeah, if you've got the list of names, you know who's been swapped, so that's covered there. And if all it takes is people handing in campus cards on the gate as you walk in, we're not going to check off names there. Give it to the member of security who's sat outside for an hour doing nothing. I've been that person. You're sat there on your own. All they have to do, check off names in that hour and 20 minutes. I don't think that's a big issue for lots of people.
Formal exchange is definitely a big thing. That's the one reason why people are getting turned away, because people might see on the web or on the group that someone's given up a spot. Obviously, they know that someone else has taken that spot, but some people might just want to walk in because they know that there's an empty spot going. I definitely think that we should probably officialize formal exchange on the JCR website. Something where even we have, the slightest change, the final list is still known to the services manager on the day of formal. So maybe even 30 minutes before, just print out a final formal list of that group. If we officialize formal exchange, multiple ways of doing it. Obviously, you can do direct switches. My idea is, hopefully, if I'm elected, that we get a sort of reserve list. So even after formal's filled up, you keep on signing up. Your name gets placed on a reserve list or a waiting list. And then, obviously, if you opt out, you go back on the JCR website, you opt yourself out, and the first person on the list gets added automatically. I believe this was done a few years ago. The only problem was the person who got added wasn't informed that they were added to formal. A way of doing that is, hopefully, if this system gets through, that person, if he gets added on, he or she gets added on, they get an email sent to them, just letting them know that they've been added to formal. That also will help the services manager at the end of the day to get a proper final list of those people.
Any more questions?
The toasty bar, I definitely was making a loss each night, especially given the high staff costs. Would you replace it? Would you keep it? It's good college service. If we get rid of it, what would you do?
I think that because it's a service to the students, breaking even, it should be our goal. Slight of a loss shouldn't be too bad, because at the end of the day, it's a service to the students. You shouldn't really be making a profit. I think that we should definitely keep the service going until we find out that it's really bringing down a huge loss. Also, the staff of the Toasty Bar, making sure that they are working efficiently and making sure that they're doing their job properly throughout the time. Their payment could vary. I think we have to make sure, sort of like the West Courtyard reps, making sure that if they're getting paid, they're getting paid for their job. So effectively, you should be paid for what you're doing, not for what you're not doing. But definitely salaries will be a big part, making sure we know how much each person should be getting, even though that we've haven't had the Toasty Bar working for full first term.
Yeah, I think I agree with what all Durham said there. I think we do need to keep the service open there, and it is about just breaking even rather than trying to pull a profit. I think possibly look into different things we can offer in there. At the moment, it's just Toasties. I know the club captain for rugby is calling for hot dogs. I know the new vice senior man's calling for hot dogs. If it's stuff like that that we can look into, offer different things. I know it's a stupid point to make, but they're cheap to make, can make a better cut than you can with Toasties. Just, if people have ideas like that, I think it's important to take that into account.
Anyone else? Yeah, Maury?
As UCPP captain and then
I think the back room of the JCR is currently wasted. What would be your proposal for that? What do you think we should do with that space?
Well, I know the current exec, Chris, is in the process of buying things for the room. I don't know if you know, so a console's been bought and things like that. So stuff needs to go in the back. I think we do need to replace the pool table. I think the main issue is we need people to contribute what they want in there more than 10 people on the gallery deciding this is what everyone would like. I think it's more a case, whatever goes in there, the job of the service manager is to make sure the stuff in there is available and it's working the whole time. And if that means having a locked cabinet in there so you can keep the controllers and you can keep table tennis rackets in there and you just sign it out like the snooker room system, just because when things get broken, like at the start of the year, there's no accountability. So, and it's not a big deal with the snooker room, I don't know why it'd be a big deal to make sure that we don't have controllers nicked, we don't have games nicked. So it's the stuff in there just needs to be made available the entire time.
I believe last year during JCR meeting, we passed that we were going to turn it into a cinema room, and it didn't fall through last year. And this year, we were hoping to get that going as well. Like Jimmy said, Chris is getting a few things sorted for that back room. And again, with what Jimmy said, you have to make sure that you are putting stuff in there that the people want, not something that the Norman Gallery sort of just wants to place in there. So definitely a cinema room would be a great idea. But the question, or the answer to your question about the ping pong table, I definitely feel like we should purchase a new one or at least fix it. Again, signing it out would be a great way of keeping the maintenance of that ping pong table. Also, I remember last year during third term when the weather was really nice, we used to take the ping pong table outside in the courtyard and play. I think that's a great idea. Maybe have the ping pong table, because it's a very fragile table, it can break quite easily. Make sure that that ping pong table is sort of locked up till the third term.
Cool. Anyone else? Miss Dale, ladies first.
With the introduction this year, this coming year, of people having to rent their rooms and in theory being able to stay with them through both Christmas and Easter vacation, what services do you think are important to maintain for people who might, if we have more people staying here all that time?
Well, I definitely think that, I mean, the bar is working during those holidays, which is a main thing because the Undercroft is obviously a big part of this castle. The Toasty Bar, I'm not quite sure we should keep that going because of staff. The staff buildup would be too much, I believe, and I don't think it efficiently work. Also, the vending machines, I believe the vending machines should be working. We do have staff who are going to be here during the vacation period. So definitely we can have someone there who's looking after the vending machines, making sure that they're stocked throughout the vacation. Also, I believe the laundry machines should be working if there are any students who are going to be staying over those breaks. And yeah, that's really it.
Yeah, like Durham said, it's about the bar's always open anyway, so obviously that shouldn't really come into it. I think the main issue for people is the fact that during those times they have no access to food. So whether it's a case of making sure all students who are going to stay through those times have access to the Owen Gate kitchen at all times. I know it's been locked for a good portion of the year so far. So I think it's important that people are able to cook their own food. I know people can't make it to every single meal. So whether it's a case just having something like, in whatever room it may be, access to a toaster or a microwave or even like a George Foreman, something like that, just so that people can make easy, quick meals if they are going to stay during those holiday times.
Mr. Skinner?
What was your main motivation behind running for service and money?
The main motivation for me was mainly to do with the fact that the stuff that isn't well, hasn't been working, it feels like you can do something about that in the role. You can look into making sure the vending machines are charging the right things. You put in a certain code and it charges twice the price of the same item. It's things like the back room, the JCR not being put into action. It's the basic things that I feel, for not necessarily Chris Folk College office causing fuss over that. I think it's necessary that we can it'd be nice to have the simple things done, and in the role you can have that impact.
I think that, sorry, what was the question again, bud? There we go. All right, well, I wasn't planning on going for an exec role until probably a few days before the sign-up, and the reason behind that was I was in the West Courtyard playing pool, and while I was playing pool, found out that there was a big crack on the slate. I was complaining about that. Went to the vending machine, wanting to get one of the packets of crisps. It wasn't there, so I was complaining about that. And the person who I was playing against just decided to say, well, if you're pissed off about this, why don't you just do something about it? And that's why I'm going for the job. I really think that there needs to be someone who's responsible to get things done and push through. Back room of the JCR, I want to make sure that that's getting done, taken care of. Pool table, and the vending machines are stocked at all times. Yeah.
Miss Ash?
So I think the service manager has to make quite a lot of important purchases for the JCR. So has there been a time where you've had to manage a budget or use someone else's money to buy things? And also, how do you go about making sure that the purchases you made were responsible and in the best interest of the JCR?
Well, I was a cricket club captain back home, and making sure that we had kit available for them. Didn't really have a budget to work with, but it was definitely sort of getting a cheaper price for a better quality product. And we managed quite well. The only thing is that I believe that when we have to make purchases for the JCR, we have to have a chat with the entire JCR, making sure that that's what they want at the end of the day, because it's not just for myself or the exec, it's for the rest of the JCR. So making sure that they're getting exactly what they want is the biggest thing. Again, having to look for the best quality product and still being within the budget is a definite case.
Yeah, you can't really disagree with any of that. I think it is about JCR participating in what they do want, particularly like the back room, what people do want in there. It can't, like I said before, be the 10 people in the gallery deciding for everyone. With regard to purchasing things myself and looking at budgets and things, like going back to school, definitely a boy, I had to buy in charge of sports kit and buying things in that respect. Like the rugby and football teams needed new equipment, so school give you a budget, obviously looking at balancing quality with price. So yeah, I think that's quite a basic thing, but it shows that I can work to a budget, I can be responsible with quite a lot of people's money.
Yeah, Ollie?
One of the things you both mentioned quite a lot is making sure that you're doing what the JCR wants and talking to people. But obviously, logistically, for one or even 10 members of the exec to talk to, 600 undergrads, whatever it is, it's quite hard. So how would you go about effectively communicating with the JCR?
Something I've been mentioning during this week of campaigning is if you look at the Cuffs JCR website, they have they have a weekly poll system, and you're able to pick like option 1, option 2, option 3. If we can get something along those lines sorted out, so that all it would take is an email saying, here's the link to a JCR website, click on what you'd like. If the Cuffs can do it, why can't we, essentially?
That's basically correct. Exactly what he said. Definitely a great way to do this is having it on the JCR website where someone can, even at home, if they can't come to the JCR meeting, obviously we're sending out the minutes And if you can vote online, it'll save time, and at least they'll know what they're actually getting, instead of just sort of reading the minutes and knowing what passed and what didn't pass. They still have a say. And that's the biggest thing, because if you look at all of our JCR meetings, the biggest incentive is to get Domino's pizza. I mean, there's no one else who would come if that wasn't there. So, well, I mean, I was going for that. No, but I really think that if the people who can't make it, even if they are busy with work, letting them able to just vote online, it's a great system.
Yep.
Would you endeavour to extend meal times?
Well, do you mean by like longer periods, or do you mean sort of just having it available at any time? Could you please specify?
Yeah, just extending them like extra half an hour, say, every day or something like that.
Definitely meal arrangements is one of my deals. I would like to make sure that food and meal times are accessible to all students. Currently the meal arrangements to take out are really iffy. Just signing out, if you don't sign up in time, you're not going to get the meal. Again, an online system, if you can sign up ahead of time knowing that you're not going to be there, and letting the service staff know that way would be a great idea. Half an hour extra meal time, I don't know. Depends on if people are actually just doing, or if we're extending that time for their convenient, or if they really can't make the meal times. Have to obviously go into further detail with that.
Again, we can't really disagree with each other on this point. I think looking to extend every single meal time by half an hour, I think it goes quite a bit above services manager. You're looking at college office and they'd be turning to the staff. So whether you'd really have to assess whether it'd be worth individual meal times being increased, because you're looking at extra staff costs, putting on more food, keeping it hot and all that kind of thing. But yeah, the alternative meal arrangement is something that really needs to be looked into, because it's improved this year, definitely, but if it went online, it would be so much easier. All the chefs would need is a printout before the meal time and they'd have it prepared. I don't think that's too much to ask.
Beth?
I know this is something that's part of the environment quite a few times, and was something that came up at senior man Hustings. It was the point of whether do you think it's viable for livers out at the end of meal times to come in and just pay a nominal fee and take away the food that lives in, so haven't eaten, because otherwise it's going to get thrown away, or do you think that's something that just would work?
Oh yeah, if people think that is a good option that would be used, I don't know how many people would use it at livers out going from Science Site or Elvert back to the viaduct, for example. But in terms of, at the moment you can pay a fee for a meal. I know it was $3.70 or something for dinner, which is probably more than everyone's budget for a dinner. So if it would really have to be looked at, it is a case if we put it to the website, if we put it to a JCR meeting, would people use this function? Then it's something to be looked into. But again, it would go above us. It's about budgets and whether the college can afford to set this food aside.
I definitely think that we should extend that to the livers in. Definitely, I know a few big boys in Castle, Adam Carson, Ben Wastel, big boys, and Jamie Lowe. Some few big boys, and they can eat. And they can eat. If they, obviously you're getting food placed in your plate, so it's not like something you can just keep helping yourself with. At the end of the meal, obviously, if there's still food left over, definitely have it open to the livers in. But for the livers out, again, you're going to have to see if they're actually willing to do that trek from the science site to the castle and going back to the viaduct. If it's a service that they might use, more effectively, then we could. We can let them, pay a small nominal fee, and then they can come in and obviously take the rest of the food that probably will be wasted.
Somebody down there had a question over there. I've just got a question over here.
If that meal system wasn't possible, what are your thoughts on doing a meal deal like what was discussed last year? So doing, say, I don't know, 5 for a tenner or something along those lines to figure this out.
5 for a tenner.
Or 5 meals for a tenner.
We can go on. We can definitely look into that. I believe that the most effective way of having the wastage sort of not be wasted is definitely opening it up to the livers in. And I don't think that the whole meal deal will actually work properly. It's again the budget, making sure that the service staff or working sort of those sort of meal deals. Again, a lot of hard work that they have to keep preparing for. If we can just keep a simple, smooth running process, it would definitely work out more effectively.
Again, it's a case of, can college accommodate for that? Can they reduce everyone's price by that much? And you've got to weigh up people living in are paying a certain amount for each meal, so can you really justify charging livers out that much less? I think that might annoy people who are living in. But then, if people are keen to have a kind of, if it is 5 for £10, I think it would be a good way of keeping people coming back to college. I think particularly now, more and more people are going to be forced to live out. If people are coming back, I think it is far more inclusive naturally. And people don't become disillusioned with college. They will keep coming back. They won't just leave after 1 year and never come back.
June?
With regards to formals and working point next things doing people living out, have you changed the system that's in place at the moment to something which includes livers out more?
I think that's a point that me and Durham, we've made clear in the manifesto. We've really pushed that we do have to make the concessions. I think we have to make the effort for people who particularly are forced to live out. They didn't want livers out status for their second year running. So I think it is important that people don't become disillusioned with college and we don't become like a hill college that no one goes back to after 1 year. So if it's a case we increase the quota from 10 to 15 or 10 to 20 on, say, a Tuesday when places don't always fill up, or whether we have more livers out formals. We've only had 1 this year, so why can't that be 2? Why can't that be 3? Another idea I had was we've had, say, 80 people turned away from living back in college. The occasional formal, to make the particular effort for them, a halfway whole sign-up system where it opens 24 hours earlier. We set aside 40 spaces or so for those people who are turned away, and so that they can have formal with their year group, because otherwise I don't think people would be inclined to go to a livers out formal that would be 10 finalists and mainly second years. But it's something to look into, definitely. I think increasing the quota from 10 probably needs to happen. More and more people are going to be forced to live out, unfortunately.
I definitely agree with increasing the quota, from 10 to 15 or whatever it is at the moment, raise it up 5 or 10 spots. Also, I believe 30. That's how many spots there are currently. Well, we can definitely go probably 30, 35, 40. We'll see. Raise it up. The problem is that we have to make sure that we reserve those spots for the livers out. Again, maybe having the sign-ups for livers out open a bit earlier, or even just reserve it till sort of 2 hours before the end of sign-up. And if they're not taken by then, let the livers in or the rest of the JCR go ahead and sign up for those spots. Again, I think we should definitely have more livers out formals. I don't think 1's enough. Maybe 1 a term could be nice. And halfway halls sort of reserve 40 odd spaces just for them 24 hours beforehand, and letting them then sign up if they're not taken by then.